interactive with X-Ray, where we bring trading experts to you live in the platform. Choose sessions, watch live market analysis, and catch up on your favorite market insights anytime. Ask questions and go one-to-one with leading experts on gold, oil, FX, crypto, indices, and equities. X-Ray, your very own analysis team, right at your fingertips. That's higher trading from MarketsX. Discover how some of the top executives are trading their own companies with our Insider Trades tool. See who's been buying or selling stock and what their trades say about insider sentiment. Use this unique big data tool to make more informed stock trades. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
What's happening, beautiful people? Good morning, America. Good afternoon, Europe, and welcome everyone to our live stream. How are you guys doing? Let me know how you're doing in the comment box below, guys. And if you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and support us in delivering more great content. We are exactly 1 year into the COVID pandemic, and many people in Europe stormed the streets in the last week as the third wave of COVID infections forced governments in Europe to extend or tighten the lockdown measures before the Easter holiday. Unlike the United States, European lockdown measures have been more severe, demanding prolonged shutdowns of non-essential businesses, schools, and travel restrictions. In its lockdowns, France and other European countries required citizens to carry documents explaining why they were going out from their homes. Residents were limited to 1 or 2 hours a day of outdoor exercise, including walking a pet. Romania, Finland, UK, Austria, Switzerland, and other European countries are also facing protests and clashes with the security forces as people ignore the social distancing measures, wearing a mask, protesting against any restrictions imposed by the local authorities. Is this the right thing to do? And what happens with the European economy in times like this? More on this topic in just a minute with my guest for the day, a man with over 20 years of experience in the financial markets, Brad Alexander, CEO at FX Large. Stay tuned. Right, ladies, gentlemen, traders, please welcome Brad Alexander, CEO at FX Large. How are you, Brad? Good afternoon, and thank you for accepting the challenge. How are you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon, Andrew. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, we're good. We're getting on with it. As you say, we're plowing through our little pandemic here. We're not protesting here, but yeah, we're always just as concerned as you are with everything that's going on in Europe.
Yes. Quick question before we get started. Did you get vaccinated for COVID, or did you have COVID in the last year or so?
No and no and no. If I had COVID, I'm really not sure because I had no symptoms. I'm due to be tested next week with my clinic. But that's the topic. I live in Europe as you do, and the topic of when we're going to be vaccinated is a very sensitive one, and we'll get to that later, I guess. But yes. So the answer your question is no, no, and no.
Oh, no, and no. Okay, 3 no's. Now, we are 1 year after the pandemic started, and is it still a case of does COVID exist, or is just a rhetorical question?
Yeah, I think everyone has got the idea. In Spain, I've met a grand total of 1 person who thought it was a hoax, and I think he's changed his tune since then. I was in London last October, and I did hear a lot of conspiracy theories. When you watch the American news, you hear lots and lots of conspiracy theories, but it seems to be getting less and less. It's actually frightening that people don't get the fact that there is a pandemic, but I'd say that's less and less these days, fortunately or unfortunately.
Well, it was the case until a few days ago, and now I see every day on social media more and more people accusing everyone and anyone of conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Now, we saw a lot of protests in Europe in the last few days. Why do you think people are protesting now, Brad? Are they tired of restrictions? Are they tired of wearing a mask? Or it's more like a group thing based on social media and conspiracy theory?
And I'll answer the question: yes, yes, and yes. I mean, as we know globally, it's affecting everyone psychologically. It's very, very difficult. I mean, especially if you have children in a small apartment, you must be going crazy. I mean, we've had a few I live in Spain. I live in a European country like you do. We've been in and out of lockdowns. It can be frustrating when you can't even go out to visit the next town to go to your favorite restaurant. We've been lucky. We've been able to get food and whatnot through the lockdowns, but and you need an excuse to go to the next town to visit your doctor. It's been very difficult. And as you say, I mean, we're all getting fed up of wearing masks. We are now wearing double masks. The one thing that's good about Spain is that everybody is wearing a mask. It's the law. There's no ambiguity. You have to wear a mask, but it is taking its toll. You see short tempers. You hear stories of, people just getting upset with life. And you're absolutely right. The protests are based on the fact that people are just plain fed up. But, and as Joe Biden was saying yesterday, you need to plow through. We need to see the back of this thing before we can let up our guard. So it's a catch-22 almost. So.
Yeah, if only people would be more compliant, let's say. Now, let's have a quick look at something. These headlines were the headlines for the last week or so. Last night, we saw some clashes between protesters and the security forces, and we are only a few days away from the Easter holiday. We see COVID cases rising. We see a lot of European countries imposing stricter measures to try and stop the spread of the virus. But in the same time, Europe is only vaccinated 15.4 doses per 100 people, which is better than last week, because last week it was down at 14, but still far behind Israel, the US, and the UK. Why do you think the European Union is so far behind than the other states, Brad?
Well, I'll answer that question by example. If you look at the United States, even though they had a disastrous start to it last year for obvious reasons, they are now vaccinating at a very rapid rate. They've got chemists, pharmacies inoculating people. They've got stadiums full of people testing and vaccinating. I'm actually registered with a clinic in London where I have a home, and they've been contacting me. They're contacting me to go to get the vaccination. I can't do it because I can't physically fly there. Here in Europe, I live in Spain, as I said, it's the opposite. There's no information. There is we don't have a clue. I've been trying to contact social services. No one knows what's going on. I speak to friends in, say, Berlin, and they're saying they're now inoculating 78-year-olds. I don't know how things are in Cyprus, but from my standpoint, there's a complete lack of information. And looking at the overall, and I don't want to go into a rant here because it's not the time or place, but if you look at the European Union, there seems to be a tremendous amount of bureaucracy. I've got a friend who lives in Belgium, and he says there's 3 parliaments here and 9 ministers of health. It's complete chaos. So to answer your question, bureaucracy, and it's a bit frustrating. And I'll repeat, I could have got my vaccination 3 weeks ago with my clinic in London, but I can't physically go there to get it done. So I'm assuming I will be vaccinated probably in October, November, if I wait for the Spanish. So that's, to answer your question, vast bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy, and also, I don't know if you're aware, a few days ago, apparently 29 million Astrazeneca doses were found in a plant in Italy by a French official. That was the news. It was very blurry. Nothing else followed after that. The question still remains: how is it possible to have 29 million vaccine doses hidden in a plant in Italy and not use them? Or what was wrong with them? No one came back to clarify that. Now, do you think the situation in Europe could have been handled differently, Brad?
Oh, of course. I mean, look, and we also just heard literally minutes ago that Germany is suspending the use of Astrazeneca because of thrombosis.
And Canada as well this morning.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I saw it on Bloomberg literally half an hour ago. So yeah, I'm sure it was this morning. So that doesn't help. I think countries like the United States and certainly the UK are saying, full steam ahead. We we have to get past this. The percentages are quite low. So this is the question with the European Union on many, many topics. Are things better handled by the individual countries, or are they better handled through a central group who should have been looking at this months ago or even a year ago? I don't have an answer to that, unfortunately. To answer your question, of course, it could have been handled better, especially since most of the vaccines are actually made here in Europe. They're looking at restricting exports. Therefore, you'd think, and as you said, there's not a problem with supply. It's the problem with getting it into people's arms. So,
true. Yeah, I think also Europe could have handled the I think anyone could have handled the situation better than Europe, to be honest. You know what the worrying thing is, Brad, in terms of protests and clashes and all that? I've watched the news a lot in the last few days, and most people seem to protest against wearing masks, against the early close of bars, restaurants, and supermarkets. But I don't really see people protesting and saying things like, we need the vaccine faster. We need to get vaccinated so things get back to normal. Are the people missing the essential in the protests, you think?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, I have to wear a mask. In fact, my wife and I wear double masks, and we don't like it, but we're not complaining about it because that is the situation. We are not happy about the progress of the vaccinations. And I agree with you. If I were to protest, I'd be protesting why are in Berlin, are they looking at inoculating 78-year-olds? Whereas in the UK, they're literally weeks ahead of that, or in the United States, they want to have everybody inoculated by the end of May, I think Joe Biden was saying, or at least have everybody ready for their holidays in the summer. So you've hit the nail on the head. But again, getting back to the fact that everybody is so fed up and so tired, especially if you're living in a crowded city with too many kids in the apartment, you may not be thinking in terms. You just want to be free. So it's a tricky one.
It is very tricky. What to say then about Israel, which managed to vaccinate, I think, 90%, 80% of the population in record time. And they're to send planes and bring people back home just to get vaccinated and then send them back where they came from. I mean,
yeah, that was the ultimate success in organization. I mean, you can't, as you just said, there was the infrastructure and the organization to get people back to the country to inoculate them. It would have taken a tremendous amount of organization, which they clearly did. And getting back to the European Union, why couldn't they do that? Maybe it was because there are too many different countries within the European Union, or maybe they just didn't start soon enough. But if you look at the United States as an example, let's face it, the first year of the pandemic was a complete train wreck because I don't want to go into politics here, but the previous administration had states fighting amongst themselves, whereas now suddenly they've managed to coalesce the whole thing and get a plan together very, very quickly. And this really didn't start happening until, well, let's face it, the inauguration in January to the 21st. So it's happened quite quickly. So to answer the question, why has Israel been able to do it much quicker? Obviously, a smaller country. They had a lot of cooperation from, I believe it was Pfizer. Why can't the European Union do it? Why didn't they do it? I mean, I'm sure there'd be inquests going on forever about this, but the problem is it's happened and it's happening or not happening, and it's going to affect the economy and us for months to come.
Yes, rightly said. Now, the question is, Brad, where does this situation in Europe leaves the euro? Looking at it on a daily chart, we see it dropping below the 200 moving average. And if in January this year, the euro was trading at 123 versus the US dollar, now we see it as low as 117 and dropping fast. How low do you think it could go, Brad?
Yeah, no, as we all know, the Forex is a binary thing. You've got the dollar on one side and the euro on the other. Absolutely right. I'm watching all the euro pairs, and definitely the euro is weaker. But don't forget, we've had a lot of dollar weakness over the last year, waiting for the new Democratic government, and then we've had dollar strength based on the fact that their vaccines are getting ahead of it. If you take a look at your daily chart, you will notice as well that not long ago, September, October, we were at 1.162. So that's the next key level. And if you go back even 1 year, less than 1 year, we were at 1077. So to answer your question, I see the euro hitting key levels in a matter of perhaps even days or weeks. And again, the next key level down is 1.162. There's no. We look at other analysts and some of the big hedge funds, and they see the same thing. They don't see a recovery to the European economy anytime soon. Sadly, they've probably lost the summer in terms of the tourist season, and that's not going to help.
No, definitely the EU economy in terms of tourism, I think, is doomed this year as well. Now, looking at the charts, you nailed it. You nailed it with the 1620 level. Looking towards the left-hand side where this arrow is, these are the levels Euro had in March, April 2020 when COVID started. Very, very likely we're going to see a retest of that level by the way things are going right now. By the way, now are the protests in Europe contributing to the sharp drop from your point of view, Brad?
Well, it's like, I mean, the reason, I feel the reason the US dollar is improving, despite the fact that the administration is pumping tons and tons of borrowed money into the economy, is because of the optimism over the vaccines. And I see the exact opposite happening with the euro. It's that simple. Even though a lot of the European indices are still flying high, the euro is going to be struggling for some time. And also, don't forget, we've got other little factors as well, like the Italian economy, which is not that healthy. So it's not going to help the euro at all. So yeah, I see the COVID point there around 1.14. And I think the euro is going to fly right past that, because that was almost an artificial level based on panic at the time. But the real level, I see even lower at 1077, which was, even February, March, April, if I look at my charts, May of last year. So there's a lot of room to the downside with the euro, and not just against the dollar.
Yeah, not to get into the dollar. Now, Italy, you mentioned Italy a minute ago. Italy is kind of lucky if you think about it, because they have Mario Draghi taking over. And we all know Mario Draghi did a great job leading the European Central Bank for years. What other assets would you say are affected by this halting production in the EU area, Brad? Brent, crude oil, stocks, what are we looking at?
Well, yeah, I was looking at the indices this morning, and curiously, they're still flying. I mean, even globally, even the Nasdaq is down a little bit, but of course, we've seen over the last year what's really got hit hard is crude, Brent and WTI. In fact, last year, I wrote a blog after it happened about. We talk about supply and demand all the time. Well, what happened to WTI last year was supply, demand, and where do we put it? There was a massive storage problem, which drove the 2-month contract down to minus $40 and the spot price to what was it, $6? And it still hasn't recovered. In fact, the fact that it's at $60 now at WTI, and what's Brent now, 63, I think.
64.09 as we speak.
Yeah, exactly. It's, that actually, to me, is actually high compared to the fact that airlines aren't flying, people aren't traveling. So until, it's, again, we all talk about this every day. You on your shows and on my commentary, and even to my students, of course, we're not going to see a massive recovery in crude until people start traveling again and we get back into normal production with everything on the planet.
Demand out there, correct? Because now the demand, at least in the Eurozone, is only coming from trucks, basically.
Yeah.
Not public transportation. I would say only delivery trucks. This is the most you can get out of Brent oil at this stage in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think the COVID situation will get back to normal this year, Brad?
Yeah, it all depends of your definition of normal.
Pre-COVID levels, let's say.
Yeah, I know. No, I think it will improve. It is improving every month and every week. The only fear I've got is, obviously, like everyone, is the next strain of COVID, and if we're able to keep up with it. I think that Europe in particular, as we just discussed, is in for a lot of pain for the next few months because they won't be able to recover the economic downturn again if they lose the summer tourist season. I mean, right now we're coming into Easter, and as I say, I live in southern Spain. I spent 3 years in Seville, and that's the big time. That's the big economic boom is Easter, and it looks like it's not going to happen this year. I mean, the Spanish government, as I say, I live here, have been really putting a push on other countries to say, hey, come and visit us now. You'll be vaccinated. We're all happy. I don't know there's going to be a massive rush of tourists to come to Spain because, especially if you're in the UK, how do you get back? You physically can't get back yet. And again, as I said, Easter, we've been told that Easter celebrations will be, certainly curtailed because we don't want super spreaders. But I hear the bands practicing every evening near my home. So clearly something's going to happen. So my fear with Easter, especially in southern Spain, and obviously a lot of European countries are very, very dependent on Easter for their economy. The fear is more super spreaders. So let's see what happens.
True. Yeah. Let's see what happens. This is the key. This is the key word, basically, in times like this. Let's hope more people will be compliant. Let's hope less protests will happen. And as we get closer to Easter, to the Easter holiday, we're learning to become better.
I think so. I think so. I think, like I say, I live in southern Spain, and everybody's wearing a mask, which is very, it's a good sign. But the lack of communication on the vaccines and testing is a bit frustrating. So hopefully that will all balance out. And, what's impressed me over the last year is that the central banks and corporations and government have done their best to maintain our economies. I don't think a lot of people on the street realize how important that's been. Sadly, they're going to be running out of tools, and you and I will be commenting for the next several years about tax raises. How are we going to pay for all this? It's all wonderful. Well, it's not wonderful, obviously, but it's keeping us all alive. But how are we going to pay for all this? So that's going to be the next, perhaps our next interview, Andrew. We can talk about that.
Sure. Also, you mentioned something very, very interesting. If people would know how economies work, how countries are suffering, they wouldn't be talking about conspiracy theories and anything like that. They wouldn't be protesting, basically.
No, I think they would be anyway, to be honest. In fact, I think a lot of people would be. I talk to lay people about central banks, and they can often get frustrated because they don't understand. They hear the word bank, and they immediately get their back up. Again, I'll repeat. I really think the psychological damage of being locked up, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, especially in a crowded city, has done a lot of damage to a lot of people, and it's not their fault. Conspiracy theories, people are frustrated. It's just one of those things, and we just have to find a way through it. So
with less violence, and hopefully this week we're going to become better. Right. Let's see what's going to happen. Brad, thank you ever so much for with us today. I'm looking forward to the next one, and it will definitely be a next one.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, stay safe and test negative.
Yeah, thank you. You too, Brad. Thank you for being with us today. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we had Brad Alexander with us, CEO at FX Large. We're going to come back in a minute or so with the U.S. markets open. We're already 5 minutes ahead of the U.S. markets open. Stay tuned.
Keep your finger on the market pulse with the News Alerts tool. Stay up to date on the latest sentiment across all the major asset classes. Uncover bullish or bearish signals tied to specific assets that could be developing before major price moves, and track how news sentiment correlated with price in the past. Track the news volume on an asset, its fear index, and get a better feel for its underlying strength. All with News Alerts, your central hub for market information. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
Right. Good morning, America. Good afternoon, Europe. And welcome everyone to our live stream. Let me know how you're doing. Type your comments, like, share, subscribe, and support us in delivering more great content. Come on, guys. Be supportive. Don't be haters. Now, let's after we started the week with a very quiet economic calendar yesterday, here's what's happening in the markets today, Tuesday, 30th of March, 2021. The US dollar hit its highest today in over a year against the Japanese yen, and its highest in 4.5 months against the euro, as bets on the global economic recovery were trimmed against a backdrop of rising COVID-19 cases worldwide. The US is also worried about the new COVID wave, and even if the vaccination process is accelerated, this does not mean the country is COVID-free. Rochelle Walensky, the new head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, warned yesterday that the incidence of new infections and hospitalizations has turned upward in recent days, giving her a sense of impending doom in the light of what has happened in Europe over the last month. Deliveroo, the food delivery startup backed up by Amazon, priced its IPO offering at $10.5 billion 1 day before the listing on the London Stock Exchange. Deliveroo is not yet profitable, and the regulatory outlook has darkened since the UK Supreme Court ordered Uber to treat its gig workers as employees rather than contractors. Also, a number of institutional investors refused to invest due to concerns about its business model, specifically with regard to its pay practices. Crude oil traded lower on the European trading session today, falling below the $61 mark after the news that the Suez Canal was unblocked yesterday and faces weak demand as COVID cases around the world intensify. And Bitcoin, guys, everyone's favorite, is heading towards the $60,000 mark once again, with Ethereum following after Visa announced that it's looking to allow its partners to settle fiat transactions on the Ethereum blockchain later on this year. U.S. markets open, coming up. Right, beautiful people, we are exactly 3 minutes ahead of the US markets open, and the headline today is European stocks higher, rising French confidence helps. Now, let's have a quick look and see what is happening on the markets today. European stock markets pushed higher today during the European trading session, helped by growing French consumer confidence, while fears of a broader fallout from the US hedge fund default eased. At 3:45 a.m. Eastern Time, the DAX in Germany traded 0.7% higher. The CAC 40 in France rose 0.8%, and the FTSE index in the UK climbed also 0.7%. The French consumer confidence rose unexpectedly in March, with the INSE stats agency saying its monthly consumer sentiment index rose to its highest level since December to reach 94 points from 91 in February. This comes despite new COVID restrictions on large parts of the country and the prospect of more curbs on the way, after Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said all options are on the table to protect the public from rising COVID numbers of infections in the third wave of this COVID-19 pandemic. The news is more positively in the UK, where the vaccination program has been more successful, as a stay-at-home order and some other lockdown measures have been lifted in England. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he still urges the population to be cautious, having warned last week that Europe's wave was likely to wash up on our shores sooner or later. The European market was also helped by a positive handover from Wall Street, with the blue chip Dow Jones Industrial Average closing Monday at new record highs. Now, Astrazeneca fell 0.7% after Canada suspended its COVID vaccine for adults aged 55 and under, as concerns it may be linked to blood clots reappeared again. Food delivery company Deliveroo is likely to price shares in its initial public offering at 390 pence each. Sorry, it's in pounds, guys. That's why I got a bit distracted. The bottom of the range at which they were marketed, according to Bloomberg, with books closing later today. We're going to see it listing in the early hours of tomorrow morning, guys. Oil prices edged lower today as shipping resumed through the Suez Canal, and the focus turned to the meeting of Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, a group known as OPEC Plus, later on this week. The market is expecting the surge of COVID cases in Europe, not to mention the rising numbers in important emerging markets like India and Brazil, to keep the cartel from increasing supply levels to any great degree that they get tougher. On Tuesday, also on the supply side, U.S. crude oil supply numbers from the American Petroleum Institute are due later in the day. Now, we are already 1 minute into the U.S. trading session, guys. Welcome to the U.S. trading session, everyone. And let's have a quick look and see how the most traded assets perform today on the European trading session and how they react now at the U.S. markets open. We're looking at Brent oil futures. No, we're starting with crude oil WTI, on a 60-minute chart, trading at $60.25 this afternoon after tumbling the entire European trading session. And we see the price falling below both moving averages, which usually indicates a bit of a downtrend. We see RSI pointing downwards. Stochastic is still somewhere down into the oversold levels. Let's see what's going to happen. Now, let's have a quick look at the euro, guys, versus the US dollar, which has been tanking all the way today, trading now at 117.21 versus the US dollar, with the RSI stochastic way into the oversold levels, holding on to dear life. Moving on, we're looking at the pound, guys, which tumbled a bit as well, currently trading at 137.30, with the RSI stochastic pointing downwards and indicating a continuation of the downtrend, very likely. And in times like this, traders will probably set their take profit targets to the downside towards the 136.80 level, okay, or at least the 137 flat. 137.31 is the price while we speak. So 31 cents might happen in only a few minutes. On the other hand, we're looking at the USD JPY pair, which is breaking new record highs, guys, trading all the way up to $110 and $110.39, for the USD JPY pair. Now, let's see. RSI stochastic way up into the overbought levels. We see the candlestick somewhere consolidating. Yes, somewhere there. So there might be another rally of the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. The Aussie dollar is tumbling today after it got rejected by that 200 moving average at 0.7657 earlier on. It's currently trading at 0.7605. Okay, and probably in times like this, traders will aim for the 0.7573, which is the previous low for the Aussie dollar US dollar pair. USD CAD, on the other hand, just like the USD JPY, is pushing higher, 126.33, with the RSI stochastic reaching the overbought levels and turning around a couple of minutes after the US markets open. However, there's a lot of positivity on the US side of things, guys. So don't be surprised if the US dollar will aim even higher today. Let's see how the market open on the S&P 500 this afternoon. We see the gap. We see a negative opening on the S&P 500, $3,959.09 after the US markets open. We see a bit of a gap, which usually, guys, will be filled, yes, sooner or later. So you might want to keep an eye on that, as it might be an interesting trading opportunity. We see the Dow Jones Industrial Average opening to the downside, just like the S&P 500. However, it managed to resume the trend faster, 33,140.39 as we speak. Okay, we might see it pushing even higher today after yesterday it closed with record gains once again. The US dollar index this afternoon is rallying as well, guys. 93.29, 93.30 for the US dollar index as we speak, with the RSI stochastic off the charts almost into the overbought territories. Great potential to the upside for the US dollar. But if the US dollar goes up, that can only mean one thing, guys. Gold is tumbling. $1,683.70 for gold this afternoon after it tumbled the entire European trading session, guys. Look at the gap the markets showed at the opening today. Okay, and look where the price is now. RSI stochastic way below the oversold levels. Let's see what's going to happen from here. Meanwhile, Brent oil futures on a 60-minute chart, $64 on the dot after closing below the 200 moving average. Let's see. We might see a bit of a push ahead of the API, where is it? There it is. Yeah, API crude oil stock, which will be announced at 10:30 GMT plus 2 today. Okay, we might see a bit of a push. However, there's not a lot of demand in Europe, considering tighter lockdowns and heavy protests before the Easter holiday. Silver, on the other hand, is nosediving just like gold, 24.08 as we speak, with the RSI stochastic way below the oversold levels. Let's have a quick look at Tesla, guys, which is stumbling as well, $596.75 after the U.S. markets opened today. Tesla is in a downtrend, as you can see, guys, on a 60-minute chart. Not sure that announcement about Bitcoin and Tesla helped Tesla a lot. Now, moving on to Bitcoin, guys, we see another rally that happened yesterday, another $3,000 to $7,000 gained by Bitcoin in only a few hours, guys. $59,108 for Bitcoin. This afternoon, we expect a bit of a correction to happen as we look at the red candlestick opening right now, and we see the rally that happened during the European trading session today. The price is well supported by the 50 and the 200 moving average. We see the price reaching previous resistance levels at that price at 59,113 or somewhere in that region. Let's see what's going to happen. We see Ethereum, guys, rallying as well, as the news was that Visa will now will allow at some point this year its users to settle fiat transactions using the Ethereum blockchain. Yeah, which is tremendous news for the cryptocurrency world. Once again, very important resistance level from what we see here around this price, guys. Okay, we see Ethereum testing the resistance level and bouncing a bit off. We might see a bit of a pullback followed by another correction, or we might see a retest of that 50 moving average to the downside. God knows what's going to happen with these cryptocurrencies, as they are decentralized, guys, and the news is what affects them. Now, quick look at some trading signals. Euro and the pound versus the US dollar, with 4 strong sell indications on all 4 timeframes this afternoon, guys. This is what we like to see. We like to see a bit of clarity. We like to see 4 of a kind, and we like to know where to position ourselves on the markets. USD JPY, USD CHF pointing to 4 strong buy indications. We're looking at the Aussie dollar, just like the European currencies, the euro and the pound dropping versus the US dollar with 4 strong sell indications. Kiwi dollar just as well, 4 strong sell indications for the Kiwi dollar. And as we get to the bottom of the charts, guys, we're looking at the euro weakening versus the JPY and the CHF this afternoon. And we see the pound weakening versus the JPY and the CHF as well. Let's have a quick look at commodities this afternoon, guys. Let's see what investing.com thinks about commodities, what will happen during the US trading session today. Wow, a lot of red on the charts. This is not what we like to see. However, if this is the case, then a sell position couldn't do much harm. So we're looking at gold with 3 strong sell indications. We see the 5-minute becoming neutral as we speak. A bit of fluctuation there. We see silver with 4 strong sell. Copper, crude oil WTI, as well as Brent oil all indicate strong sell, followed by natural gas, which indicates strong sell on 3 out of the 4 timeframes, with a daily remaining a strong buy. US wheat seems to be strengthening, guys, with 2 strong buy indications on a 5-minute and a 15-minute chart from investing.com. Now, if you want to get more trading signals, guys, please feel free to check out our sponsors and trading partners at markets.com or MarketsX. They provide you an amazing web trading platform that sends the trading signals straight on the platform as well as the source. This is it from my side today, guys. Plenty of movement is expected from the markets this afternoon. Let's see what's going to happen. Join me again tomorrow, same time, same place, for a new round of market talks. Until then, remember to trade responsibly and may all your trades be in the money.